are discussing Galileo. Hopefully you've used Galileo before, but if not, don't worry, because we're going over every bit of that today. In this video/class, for those of you who have the joy of being here for the live performance, we're going to go through every step of this, but additionally, if you need more time or you want to look on things at your own pace later, you can go here again, and it walks you through each step of using Galileo. Please remember that you do have to use Galileo here for your senior project, for your research paper, for your annotated bibliography. Your annotated bibliography is what leads to becoming your research paper. Once you have your 5 sources for your annotated bibliography, and you work on quote storage, you do your annotated bibliography, that is the beginning steps of your research paper, okay? Like, once you've done your annotated bibliography, you've done your research for the paper. Then it's going through and working on quote storage and working on the writing process. But for now, our focus is on Galileo. So we go here, but remember, for accessing Galileo from home, we do need the password. That is various. What are we writing a paper about today? Dogs are better than people. So let's look up dogs. Okay. Now, do I have time to go through 5 million search hits? No. Do I have time to read an entire book right now? No. Do I have the money to pay to read certain articles right now? No. So here's why it's so important that we follow along with how we use Galileo. Every time we search for something, we need to limit to full text. Ooh, that school Wi-Fi is going strong today. And then we also need to limit to scholarly peer-reviewed journals. The reason that we must limit to full text is if you do not limit to full text, that means there is a strong chance that the whole text, the article, is not available. And so then you'll only be able to access the summary. You cannot use just a summary in your paper. Just a summary does not count as a source. You can't use just a summary. Additionally, if you're thinking, okay, so what's the big deal? I'll just find another source. It's incredibly aggravating when you find the perfect source only to find that you have to pay $50 to read it. Save yourself that agony. Just select full text from the start. Okay? Select full text from the start and everything will be free and accessible. You also don't really have time to be reading whole books right now. You want to limit it to articles, and to do that, you'll limit it to scholarly peer-reviewed journals. By limiting it to scholarly peer-reviewed journals, it's also why you are able to do the credibility statement that we did yesterday, where we went in here, and we went on our example, and I just moved that. Did not mean to. When we look at our example over here, and we said the article name here is credible because it was published by a journal name here, which is a peer-reviewed journal. Okay? You can do that for your credibility statement for all of them because you must use Galileo and you must limit to scholarly peer-reviewed journals. Okay? Additionally, we want our research to be relevant. Research from the 1800s is not really going to work for most of our research topics. We're going to want to be more recent, like 2010. Okay? It's going to load again. So, I have a whole lot about dogs here, right? But this is about everything with dogs. What was my thesis? Dogs are better than people, so I need to go to advanced search. Okay? So I've got dogs for my first search engine. But then I also can look, okay, maybe, dog or canine. Okay, so that opens my searches up a little more. Now it's going to look for either of those terms. The nice thing here is this and button. So I want to look up dogs and people, maybe, okay? Or maybe I want to look up the word benefits, okay? Now if I look up people and benefits at the same time, it might not give me what I'm looking for. But what I want you to notice is when I type benefits, I also have all these other options that cover more ground, okay? So I don't want to just use benefits. I want to take the moment for it to load, and I want to go, I want to use benefits or advantages or positive effects. So actually, I want to focus on the good qualities of dogs right now. So I'm going to have dogs, and I'm going to have the extra search field of the benefits. And I'm going to hit search. And I'm going to wait for it to load. Now notice, it undid my search limitations. You do have to be very aware of this. Sometimes the search limitations will be unclicked. So I go back to my search limitations, I click full text, I wait, and then I select scholarly peer-reviewed journals, and I wait, and I wait. And then I go here, and I limit it to something recent, 2010. Okay. So here's dogs in the workplace, animals-assisted intervention, canine-assisted reading programs, using dogs in learnings. So look, let's do this one. Let's say I want to make the argument that we can replace teachers with dogs. So I'm going to click this one. Oh, wait for it to load. So I have the article title. The article titles here are usually going to be pretty descriptive, right? But I also want to go ahead and I want to read the abstract. I'm oversimplifying a little bit, but the abstract is essentially the summary. Again, that's a mild oversimplification, but for the most part, the abstract's just a summary. So I read my summary. Notice what Galileo does for me. As I highlight it, it gives the option for Galileo to read to me. Okay? You do have the option to have Galileo read to you if that's something you're interested in, if that helps you read or helps with your eye strain, if you're worried about your eye strain. Stop reading. That's enough. Okay? So that is an option you have. Just keep in mind, if you're in the classroom and you're having Galileo read to you, you must use headphones. You must use headphones, okay? But that's an option that you have. Okay, that is a feature that's free with Galileo. They've improved it a ton since last year. You'll also notice they've got the whole article here. You can have it read the whole article to you here. Additionally, you'll notice over here on the left, we can open the PDF full text. So we click over here on the left, we wait for it to load, and now we've got the full text. If you were like, man, this is great, but this is really hard to read on a computer. Yeah, it is. You can email this to me and I will print it for you so you can annotate it better, okay? If you're like, this is a great article, you can go ahead and email me the article and I can print that article for you, okay? So that way you can write on it. Or if you have a printer at home and you want to print at home, that's excellent. Okay? So that's the article. I can look through, I can skim the article. Remember when we talked about reading research, we talked about how we want to focus on the abstract, the introduction. We want to take some time to look at the conclusion. We want to look at those places before we decide to read the whole thing, right? We want to look at the introduction, we want to look at the conclusion to make sure it's a good article before we read all 17 pages of this article, okay? Now, here's where my warning about Galileo comes in. Galileo is your friend. This link here up at the top is not your friend. This link is not your friend. It's not. Do not trust it. For security reasons or whatever, Galileo changes its links about every hour. Meaning that, yeah, this link might work while you're in this class, during this class period, but as soon as you leave this class, that link no longer works and all you get is an error message. Can you imagine you found the perfect source, you saved the link, and now you have no clue how to find that source again? Please do not do that to yourself. Here's my recommendation. 1, take this title, copy and paste it, and put it into quote storage. Okay? Put that title into quote storage. I also recommend that you have your working thesis here at the top of quote storage. That will also kind of let you look, okay, is this article looks like it supports my working thesis? Have it all in one place. Additionally, you'll notice I recommend that you have the permalinks there. Your permalink, you go down here. No, open. I don't want to have you read my link. Over here. This link is your friend. This link should work. This link is not perfect. That's why I tell you to say the permalink and the article title. If you have the article title, you can always find it again through the article title. Okay? Additionally, you've got your phones. If you want to take your phone and snap a picture of your computer screen to get the article title that way, that's valid and recommended. Okay? The thing is, Galileo is your friend, but it is a moody friend. It has mood swings. You have friends like that. You know you just learn to navigate that. This is me helping you learn to navigate Galileo's mood swings. Do not ever trust this link. It's not your friend. Use the permalink, save the title. Okay? Because if you're doing all this work to find a source and you're like, man, this looks like a useful source, you want to make sure you can find that source again. My other recommendation is that you find all 5 of your sources before start doing your annotated bibliography entries. The reason for this is if you find a source and you're like, man, the source is perfect, and you keep going, you're like, I could not find any more sources that I really want. I'd rather shift to this direction. If you completely shift directions, it's fine, but that means the work you did earlier is now wasted because you can't use it because you shifted directions. So that's what I'm recommending. Find all 5 of your sources and then do all the work with those sources, okay? Find all 5 of your sources and then do all your work with the sources, okay? So that way you're not going to risk possibly doing a bunch of work and then not being able to use that work. Because if you already have all 5 sources, you already know exactly what you're going to be talking about, okay? Are we okay with everything I've said so far? Are there any questions this time? So let's say that I want to write a paper. What's my next paper topic going to be? Y'all are not super creative right now. Frogs? Frogs are the best singers in the world. That's going to be our thesis. Okay? So advanced search. Frogs. If you're watching this at home, someone said frogs. It's not my fault. Frogs. We're going to talk about frogs singing. Or voice or vocal. You know, so this is again why it's useful to use these options. So we're going to go to frogs, singing, voice, vocal. I'm going to search. And then remember, once I search, I have to limit to full text and scholarly journal. I have to limit to full text and scholarly journal. Repeat after me. I must limit to full text and scholarly journal. Or else everything is sad. Excellent. Okay. And then we don't care about those old 1900s frogs. We want our 2010 to current frogs. Okay. Now, let's say instead of looking at frogs singing, I wanted to say that frogs are the best high school students. Okay? I'm going to find the option about high school. Okay? Now, this is part of the reason I approved my thesis with you. Because it's going to be real hard to prove that frogs are going to be the best high school students, right? But in theory, if that was my topic, and I said frogs are going to be the best high school students, high schools are very, very different country to country, right? So if I'm talking about the U.S. education system, I probably want to make sure my articles are from the U.S., right? Yes, no, maybe, yeah. So I'm going to go down to geography over here on the left limit side. I'm going to limit to United States. It's going to load for a while. You'll also notice over there you've got that language option. So if you're finding, for whatever your topic is, if you're finding a bunch of different languages, you can also limit to English, okay? So let's say that this was the perfect article for me. Okay, let's say this was the article I really wanted. I know that the PDF full text is here. So if I want to read the whole article, I know it's over here. I know the abstract, the summary is here. If you have selected full text and there's not something over here, what that means is that somewhere over here in all this information, you're gonna have a link to the article. If you have selected full text, you will be able to find the article. If you need help, just ask. So if I'm like, yes, this is the perfect article, I love it, I'm gonna save the title and I'm gonna save the permalink. There is one more trick up your sleeve when it comes to not losing articles, okay? You can go over here to Google Drive, again on the right. You can click that. It will ask you to connect your Google account to Galileo. I'm going to say sure. Now it's in my Google Drive. Now there's a folder in my Google Drive called EBSCO for EBSCO host with Galileo. Okay? Now it's in my Google Drive. So what I'm doing is I'm not just having one plan to make sure I don't lose my stuff. I'm having backup plan and backup plan so that I make sure no matter what happens, I am prepared. That's how you find sources on Galileo. This is how I recommend you organize things. Again, you've got quote storage here. I've got my recommendations for quote storage here. And you also got your annotated bibliography template storage here. And again, you'll need to make 5 copies because you need 5 entries. Are there any questions?